Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by asking you a question that may sound simple, yet it carries the weight of destiny itself. How many times have you set a goal only to watch it slip away like sand through your fingers? You wrote it down, you spoke it out, you dreamed about it, and still it never materialized. Why? Because goals by themselves are like fireworks in the night sky, bright, explosive, and gone in a moment. They create excitement, but not endurance. They spark motivation, but not momentum. What sustains the fire of achievement is not the dream you write down, but the system you live by. A system is the architecture of success. It's the rhythm of discipline, the structure of habits, the daily framework that makes tomorrow inevitable. If a goal is the destination on the map, the system is the vehicle that actually gets you there, mile after mile, regardless of weather or obstacles. And the truth is, success does not respond to wishful thinking. It responds to reliable systems. When you build the right system, success is no longer a matter of if, it becomes only a matter of when. So today I invite you to shift your perspective. Stop worshiping the finish line and start respecting the process. Stop asking, what goal should I set? And start asking, what system should I build? Because it is the system, not the goal, that will transform your life, your health, your wealth, and your future. Let's begin with a simple truth. Anyone can set a goal. It takes 5 seconds to say, I want to lose weight. It takes 1 minute to declare, I want to be wealthy. It takes 1 breath to whisper, I want to be successful. But let me tell you something, goals are cheap. They cost nothing to set. They demand no effort to announce. That's why millions of people every year set them, and millions of people every year break them. Why? Because goals create pressure. The moment you say, I want to lose 20 pounds, a clock starts ticking. Every day that passes where you don't see results feels like failure. Every setback, every temptation, every misstep adds weight not only to your body but to your spirit. The pressure grows heavier with every unmet expectation. And soon, the very goal that was supposed to inspire you becomes the chain that discourages you. Now, contrast that with a system. A system doesn't ask you to look 20 pounds into the future. A system asks you to take 1 step today. Instead of saying, I need to lose 20 pounds, a system says, I walk 30 minutes every morning. Instead of saying, I must become a millionaire, a system says, I invest 10% of my income every month, no matter what. Do you see the difference? The goal creates pressure because it lives in the distance, always measuring your lack. Consistency is the hidden currency of achievement. Think about it. The gym does not reward the person who shows up once a year with great enthusiasm. It rewards the one who shows up 3 times a week with quiet discipline. A business does not flourish because you shouted, I want to succeed. It flourishes because day after day you followed the system, making the calls, nurturing the clients, delivering the product. Relationships don't thrive on grand declarations of love once in a while. They thrive on consistent acts of care, respect, and attention. That's why systems matter. They remove the heavy load of pressure and replace it with the steady rhythm of consistency. And here's the beauty. When you commit to a system, you win every day. Every time you show up for your system, you've already succeeded. You may not be at your final destination yet, but you are on the path moving steadily forward. The system rewards you with a sense of victory today, not just someday. Let me illustrate with a story. Imagine 2 men. Both decide they want to write a book. The first man sets a goal. I will finish a book in 6 months. He starts off excited, writing furiously for a week. But then life gets in the way. Work demands his time, family needs his attention, fatigue saps his energy. The pressure of the 6-month deadline looms over him. He feels guilty every day he doesn't write. By month 3, he has stopped altogether. The goal became too heavy. Now the second man approaches it differently. He doesn't set a 6-month deadline. Instead, he sets a system. I will write 1 page every morning after breakfast. 1 page, that's it. Some mornings he feels inspired and writes more, but his system only demands 1. 6 months later, he has 180 pages, a completed manuscript, and no crushing pressure, just consistency. The difference is staggering. Friends, listen carefully. Sure can paralyze, but consistency compounds, and the only way to trade pressure for consistency is through systems. You see, life will test you. Motivation will fade, excitement will wear off. There will be mornings when you don't feel like doing it, evenings when you are too tired, seasons when progress seems invisible, and in those moments, goals will betray you. They will shout at you, you're not there yet, you're failing, but systems will whisper to you, just show up today, do the work, that's enough. And that whisper is powerful, because if you show up today and tomorrow and the next day, eventually you look back and realize something extraordinary. You have crossed mountains 1 small step at a time. Consistency is not glamorous. Systems are not flashy. They don't get applause. They don't make headlines. They don't go viral. But systems build empires. Systems turn ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. Systems transform the impossible into the inevitable. Let me give you another truth. Success is not about intensity, it's about consistency. Intensity is what gets you to the gym on January 1st. Consistency is what keeps you there in July. Intensity is what makes you excited to start a business. Consistency is what keeps it alive when sales are slow. Intensity burns bright, but consistency burns long, and only the long burn builds greatness. So what does this mean for you? It means that if you want lasting success, you must shift your thinking. Don't measure yourself by the goals you set. Measure yourself by the systems you follow. Ask yourself, what daily actions am I committed to no matter what? What habits will I practice until they become as natural as breathing? What structures will I build into my life so that success is not an accident but a certainty? Because let's be honest, without systems, even the best goals collapse. But with systems, even the smallest actions accumulate into magnificent outcomes. So if you've been living under the crushing weight of unmet goals, I invite you today to trade pressure for consistency. Build systems, live by them, trust them, because systems create the life you want, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one action at a time. And when you look back years from now, you won't just see a goal you once set, you'll see a life you built. And isn't that the ultimate success? Not the pressure of chasing, but the peace of building. Not the strain of running after the future, but the strength of living in the present. That is the gift of systems. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something straight from the heart. How many times have you been so fixated on the outcome that you forgot the process that creates it? How many times have you dreamed about the harvest without ever paying attention to the planting? We live in a world obsessed with outcomes. Everywhere you look, people are announcing results. How much weight they lost, how much money they earned, how many followers they gained. Outcomes, outcomes, outcomes. But here's the truth. Outcomes are the fruit, not the root. If you spend your life staring at the fruit, you'll neglect the root, and before long the tree will wither. But if you take care of the root, if you water it daily, if you feed the soil and protect the seed, the fruit will come inevitably, naturally, abundantly. That's what systems do. Systems focus on the process, the root, while goals fixate on the outcome, the fruit. And my friends, I would rather nurture a tree that feeds me for a lifetime than chase after one piece of fruit that spoils tomorrow. Think about this. When a farmer plants in spring, he doesn't sit in his field demanding fruit by June. He follows a process. He tills the soil, plants the seed, waters daily, guards against pests, weeds the ground, and waits patiently. He respects the process because he knows that the process guarantees the outcome. The harvest doesn't come from wishing, nor from waiting, nor from declaring, "This year I will reap 100-fold." The harvest comes because he followed the system of farming faithfully. Now, let's bring it to real life. Someone sets a goal. I want to lose 20 pounds. Every morning they step on the scale, hoping the number has magically dropped, and every morning when it hasn't, they feel discouraged. The focus on outcome crushes them. But another person sets a system. Every day I eat whole foods and walk for 30 minutes. Notice this, they don't obsess over the scale, they obsess over the process, and before long, the scale reflects the consistency. That's the power of systems. The outcome will lie to you. It will tempt you with instant gratification. It will deceive you into thinking nothing is happening, but the process never lies. If you do the work, the process is faithful. If you show up, the process will deliver. Friends, let me tell you something powerful. If you fall in love with the process, the outcomes will chase you down. Success is not about pursuing the finish line. It's about building a life where the finish line comes to you. Here's the danger of chasing outcomes. They create what I call the all or nothing trap. If you don't hit the outcome, you feel like a failure no matter how much progress you've made. Imagine a student who sets the goal. I must get straight A's. She studies hard, improves her habits, learns more than ever before, but ends up with a B in one class. What happens? Instead of celebrating her growth, she feels defeated. The outcome robs her of joy. But systems free you from that trap. If her system was, I will study 2 focused hours every day, then she's already succeeded every single day she showed up. And guess what? Over time, that process will produce grades she can be proud of, whether or not they're all perfect A's. Let's take another example. Business. The outcome mindset says, I must make $100,000 this year. Every month that falls short adds stress, pressure, and disappointment. But the system mindset says, I will make 10 sales calls every day. That's the process. And when you work the process, the outcome takes care of itself. Some days the calls bring rejection. Some days they bring opportunity. But whether or not the deal closes today, you succeeded because you worked the system. And in the long run, the system builds the income. The lesson here is simple but profound. Don't chase numbers, build habits. Don't worship results, respect routines. Don't idolize outcomes, embrace the process. Let me warn you though, focusing on the process requires patience, and patience is not glamorous. Most people don't like patience. They want the fruit without the farming, the victory without the training, the diploma without the studying, the wealth without the discipline. But the wise know that patience is not passive, it's active trust in the process. So the question for you is this: what process are you committed to? Not what outcome you're dreaming of, not what finish line you're imagining, but what daily system you are willing to follow. Because life will reward you according to the seeds you plant and the soil you tend, not just the fruit you wish for. Now let me give you a principle that can change everything. Outcomes motivate you once, but processes sustain you forever. That's why so many people quit after January. The outcome, lose weight, save money, get fit, fires them up for a moment, but without a process, the fire burns out. On the other hand, when you commit to a system, you don't need endless motivation. The system carries you, the process guides you, the habit becomes the autopilot of your life, and one day you wake up and realize the outcome you once dreamed of has quietly become your reality. It's like climbing a mountain. If you stand at the bottom staring at the peak, it looks impossible. The distance is overwhelming, the climb too steep. But if you focus only on the next step, and then the next, and then the next, suddenly, without realizing it, you've reached the summit. The process took you there. And let me remind you of this. Outcomes are temporary, but systems are permanent. You can hit a weight loss goal and then gain it all back if you abandon the system. You can reach a financial milestone and then lose it if you abandon the system. But when you own the system, you own the lifestyle. You own the habits that will produce results again and again. So my friends, stop asking, what do I want to achieve this year? And start asking, what process will I live by every day? Because life is not shaped by what you wish for. It's shaped by what you practice. And the greatest joy is not found in the day you achieve the goal. It's found in the person you become through the process. Goals can give you a destination, but systems give you transformation. And transformation, that's the real reward. My friends, let's speak about one of the most misunderstood words in the language of success: discipline. For many, discipline sounds like punishment. It sounds like restriction, sacrifice, denial. People hear the word and immediately think, that's too hard, that's not for me. But here's the secret. Discipline is not meant to be a prison. Discipline is the bridge. It's the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. But there is a challenge with discipline. It's hard to sustain. You can push yourself for a while. You can wake up early for a week, eat healthy for a month, save money for a season. But what happens when the willpower fades, when fatigue sets in, when life gets noisy? Discipline alone feels heavy. It demands energy every single time. And this is where most people fall. They try to live on discipline without a system. Now hear me, discipline is the seed, but systems are the soil. Without the soil, the seed cannot grow. A system takes discipline and nurtures it until it becomes automatic. That's when discipline turns into habit, and habit becomes destiny. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone decides to wake up at 5 a.m. every day. On the first morning, it takes pure discipline. The alarm rings, the bed is warm, the body is tired, and everything inside says, stay asleep. But the person forces themselves out of bed. That's discipline. On the second day, it's still discipline. On the third, still discipline. But here's the miracle. If they've built a system, like setting the alarm across the room, preparing their clothes the night before, and committing to a morning routine, the discipline soon transforms into habit. And by the 30th day, they no longer wrestle with the decision. They wake up automatically. The system has carried the discipline into habit. And once it's habit, it no longer drains energy. It no longer feels like a battle. It becomes part of who you are. That's the power of systems. They take the weight off your shoulders and let consistency carry you forward. Think about brushing your teeth. As a child, it took discipline. Your parents had to remind you, maybe even scold you. But now, you don't even think about it. It's automatic. It's a habit. And that's the key to lasting success, turning the disciplines you need into habits you don't even question. Discipline without a system is like rowing upstream every single day, exhausting. But discipline with a system is like building a motor on the boat. It may take effort at the start, but once it's running, you glide forward with ease. Let me tell you another truth. Success is not about doing great things once in a while. It's about doing small, disciplined things every day until they become automatic. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't sound like much, but with the system of daily reading, it becomes habit, and habit turns into wisdom. Saving a small percentage of your income doesn't sound like much, but with the system of automatic saving, it becomes habit, and habit turns into wealth. Speaking kindly to your spouse or children once may not change the relationship, but with the system of daily kindness, it becomes habit, and habit turns into lifelong love. Do you see the pattern? Systems take the heavy burden of discipline and convert it into the effortless rhythm of habit. Now here's something crucial. Habits don't care if they're good or bad. A system will build them either way. If your system is grabbing junk food every night, that habit will shape your health. If your system is spending every dollar you earn, that habit will shape your finances. If your system is complaining instead of creating, that habit will shape your mindset. That's why you must be intentional about the systems you build. Because once the habit is formed, it runs on autopilot for better or for worse. So the real question isn't, do I have discipline? The real question is, have I designed systems that will turn my disciplines into habits? Because discipline is temporary, but habit is permanent. Discipline is effortful, but habit is effortless. Discipline requires decision after decision, but habit frees you from the weight of constant choice. Let me give you a powerful principle. Discipline gets you started, but systems keep you going. When you rely only on discipline, every day feels like a battle. But when you build systems, the battle fades and habit takes over. And once habit takes over, your life begins to flow in the direction of your design. Think of it like training a muscle. At first, lifting weights feels painful. You sweat, you strain, you question yourself, but if you keep showing up, your body adapts. The same weight that once felt impossible becomes easy. Why? Because the system of training turned discipline into strength. Habits work the same way. They strengthen in your character, your consistency, and your capacity until what was once hard becomes second nature. Now, some people say, I just need more motivation. No, my friends, you don't need more motivation. Motivation is a spark, not a fire. What you need is a system that makes discipline automatic. Because when habit takes over, motivation is no longer required. You don't need to be motivated to brush your teeth. You don't need to be motivated to put on your shoes. You just do it because it's who you are. And that's the ultimate goal, to design systems that shape habits until success becomes part of your identity. Not something you chase, but something you live. Not something you strain for, but something you embody. So here's my challenge to you. Take one discipline you've been struggling with. Maybe it's reading daily, maybe it's exercising, maybe it's saving money, and stop trying to do it with willpower alone. Instead, build a system around it. Make it automatic. Set it on your schedule. Tie it to another habit you already have. Remove the friction. Simplify the decision. Let the system carry the discipline until it becomes habit, because once it's habit, it's yours for life. Habits are the invisible architecture of destiny. Build the right ones and they will carry you further than discipline ever could on its own. So remember this. Discipline may open the door, but systems keep you inside. Discipline may light the fire, but systems keep it burning. Discipline may plant the seed, but systems make the garden flourish. And when discipline has been transformed into habit, you will look back one day and realize something profound. Success was never about pushing harder every day. It was about building systems that carried you when your strength was weak and habits that worked for you when your motivation ran dry. That's the secret to a life not of occasional victories, but of lasting transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a confession we must all face. Motivation is wonderful, but it is unreliable. Motivation is like the wind. It blows strong today, and then it disappears tomorrow. Motivation can get you started, but it will not keep you moving. Have you noticed how people get fired up at the start of a new year? The gyms are full, the planners are bought, the goals are written, and the excitement is real. But then, by February, the gyms are half empty. By March, the planners are forgotten. By April, the goals are buried under the weight of everyday life. Why? Because motivation alone cannot sustain you. Motivation is emotional, and emotions change. Motivation is exciting, but excitement fades. Motivation is powerful, but it is temporary. And if you depend on motivation to carry you through, you will stop the moment it runs out. Now here's the good news. There is something stronger than motivation, something steadier, something more reliable. That something is momentum, and the way you build momentum is through systems. Think of momentum as the invisible engine of success. When you first push a heavy boulder, it takes enormous effort. You strain, you sweat, you push with all your might, and the boulder barely moves an inch. That's discipline in the beginning. It feels heavy, it feels slow, it feels like progress is almost invisible. But if you keep pushing, the boulder begins to roll. Slowly at first, then faster, and then something magical happens. The bull. This is why systems are so critical. Systems transform the heavy effort of beginnings into the unstoppable force of momentum. Systems don't just help you start, they help you continue. They don't just create moments of energy, they create streams of progress. Let's take an example. Imagine someone who says, I want to run a marathon. On the first day, they feel motivated. They run with energy, with excitement, with passion. But the next day, it rains. The next week, they feel sore. A month later, the motivation has disappeared. Without a system, the dream dies. But imagine instead they create a system, I will run 3 miles every morning, rain or shine, no excuses. The first week feels tough, the second week is still hard, but by the third something changes. The body begins to adapt, the legs grow stronger, the lungs expand, the mind toughens. Suddenly the act of running doesn't drain them, it fuels them. The momentum has begun, and by the time the marathon arrives, they don't need motivation, they have momentum. Let me share another picture with you. Think of an airplane. The most fuel is burned during takeoff. That's where the resistance is greatest, where the effort is heaviest. But once the plane is in the air, cruising at altitude, the fuel required is far less. It's the momentum of speed and altitude that carries it forward. Life works the same way. The hardest part is starting, but if you stick with the system, you soon reach the altitude of momentum, and then everything feels lighter, faster, easier. Now here's where most people go wrong. They stop too soon. They push the boulder a little, but not long enough to gain momentum. They burn fuel for takeoff, but quit before the plane is in the air. They start the diet, the business, the relationship habit, but they stop before momentum can reward them. And because they quit early, they say to themselves, it doesn't work. No, my friends, it works. The system works. But only if you keep at it until momentum is born. That's why I tell people, don't chase motivation, chase momentum. Motivation is a spark, but momentum is a fire that keeps burning. Motivation is the applause at the start, but momentum is the engine that keeps you going long after the crowd has gone home. And momentum does something else. It compounds. Once you have momentum in one area of your life, it begins to spill over into others. You start exercising, and soon you feel more energetic at work. You build a financial system, and soon you feel more confident in your personal life. You create a daily learning habit, and soon you speak with more wisdom in your relationships. Momentum in one area becomes momentum in every area. That's why the rich get richer, the strong get stronger, the wise get wiser. Not because life favors them, but because momentum multiplies. But let's be clear, momentum doesn't come by chance. It doesn't come by wishing. It doesn't come by waiting. Momentum is built brick by brick, day by day, through the discipline of systems. You don't stumble into momentum, you earn it. And once you have it, it works for you, even when you're tired, even when you're discouraged, even when you don't feel like moving. Let me ask you, wouldn't it be wonderful to have progress that doesn't depend on how you feel today? Wouldn't it be powerful to know that your life is moving forward, whether you're motivated or not? That is the gift of systems. They build momentum that carries you when motivation abandons you. Now let me share a principle with you. Motivation is like a visitor. Momentum is like a resident. Motivation shows up once in a while, but momentum moves in and stays. So here's what I want you to do. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop saying, I'll do it when I feel inspired. Inspiration is a guest. It comes and goes. Instead, design a system. Start small, start steady, and let consistency build your momentum. Over time, what once felt like effort will feel like ease. What once felt like sacrifice will feel like strength. And one day you'll look around and realize you are living in the momentum you built. Friends, let me close this keynote with a challenge. Don't let your future depend on fleeting bursts of motivation. Instead, build systems today that guarantee momentum tomorrow. Because once momentum is on your side, you become unstoppable. The boulder rolls, the plane soars, the river flows, and nothing can stand in the way of a life powered by momentum. My friends, let me share with you one of the most powerful truths in all of personal achievement. Small daily actions practiced consistently create extraordinary results. The world teaches us to chase the big moments, the dramatic breakthroughs, the sudden windfalls, the overnight success stories. But the wise know that life doesn't change because of what you do once in a while. Life changes because of what you do every single day. A system is nothing more and nothing less than the consistent practice of small actions, and when you honor those actions day after day, something miraculous happens. They begin to compound. Now, what do I mean by compound? Think of money in a bank account. If you save a little and leave it untouched, interest begins to grow. At first, it looks like almost nothing, a few cents here, a dollar there, but give it time, give it consistency, and those small additions grow into thousands, then into millions. That is the magic of compounding. Small actions multiplied by time become massive outcomes. And here's the secret. This principle doesn't just apply to money. It applies to your health, your relationships, your knowledge, your character. Every area of life compounds. Let's make it practical. Reading 10 pages a day may not feel like much. You close the book and think, that didn't change my life, but keep at it. 10 pages a day becomes 70 pages a week. That's 3,650 pages a year, the equivalent of 15 to 20 books. 10 years from now, you are not the same person. Your wisdom, your vocabulary, your understanding, all compounded. That's the system at work. Or take exercise. A 20-minute walk may not look like it matters. You won't lose 10 pounds overnight, but do it daily, and suddenly your heart is stronger, your body more energetic, your mind clearer. The small daily action compounds into a healthier, longer, more vibrant life. Or consider relationships, a kind word, a thoughtful gesture, a few minutes of genuine listening. These don't seem dramatic, but do them every day, and they build trust, affection, and loyalty that money cannot buy. One kind word can warm a moment. 1,000 kind words over years can warm a lifetime. Here's what I want you to see. Big success is nothing but little actions, practiced faithfully, compounded by time. But here is where most people stumble. They underestimate the small actions. They think, what difference does it make if I read today? What difference does it make if I save $5? What difference does it make if I skip this workout? And because the impact is not immediate, they dismiss the action as insignificant. But let me warn you, the insignificant becomes significant over time. The small disciplines you practice today will reward you tomorrow, and the small neglects you tolerate today will punish you tomorrow. One cookie won't harm you, but a cookie every night will. One day of spending, say, relentlessly won't bankrupt you, but years of it will. One angry word may be forgiven, but a daily habit of harshness will corrode every relationship. Compounding works both ways, for success or for failure. That's why systems matter. Systems are not about one grand action. They are about designing your life so that small actions accumulate automatically. You don't rely on memory or motivation, you rely on structure. You set the system, and the system multiplies your effort. Think about a farmer. He doesn't plant one seed and expect a forest the next morning. He plants daily, waters daily, nurtures daily, and trusts the process. The miracle of growth is hidden, slow, invisible at first. But in time, what was once invisible becomes undeniable. That's the compounding of small daily actions. Now let's apply this principle to wealth. There are two kinds of people, the spender and the saver. The spender says, it's just $5, it doesn't matter. The saver says, $5 a day over 30 years is a fortune. And here's the truth. They're both right in the short term. But in the long term, the saver wins every time. Why? Because $5 compounded daily for 30 years becomes hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's the system of compounding at work. But let's not stop with money. Think about character. Each day you tell the truth, your integrity compounds. Each day you keep your promise, your reputation compounds. Each day you choose patience over anger, your relationships compound. And soon you're living a life shaped not by one decision, but by thousands of small ones, all working together in your favor. My friends,
People
let me
look at
give you a
champions,
principle
leaders,
to remember.
successful
Greatness
entrepreneurs,
is never
and they
built
ask,
in a day.
what's the
It is
secret?
built
They want
daily.
one big answer, one hidden formula. But the truth is far simpler. The secret of success is small disciplines repeated consistently. That's it. Champions are not made by one victory. They are made by thousands of daily practices. Leaders are not made by one speech. They are made by years of learning, listening, and leading in small moments. Wealth is not built by one paycheck. It is built by the habit of saving, investing, and compounding over time. So let me ask you, what small action are you ignoring because it looks too small? What daily system could you build that, if compounded for 10 years, would transform your life? Because the difference between where you are and where you want to be is not found in a giant leap. It is found in small steps taken daily. And here's the beauty. Small actions are accessible to everyone. Not everyone can start a business with $1 million, but everyone can read 10 pages. Not everyone can run a marathon today, but everyone can take a walk today. Not everyone can transform their finances overnight, but everyone can save a little today. Small actions level the playing field, because what matters is not what you start with, but what you compound with consistency. But remember, compounding only works if you stay faithful to the system. If you plant seeds today and dig them up tomorrow to see if they've grown, you'll never have a harvest. You must trust the process, stay consistent, and let time do its work. Systems protect you from impatience by focusing you not on the outcome, but on the daily action. So here's my challenge. Stop underestimating the small things. Stop despising the little actions. They are not little. They are seeds of greatness. Commit today to one system of small daily action. Reading, exercising, saving, gratitude, service, kindness. Do it daily. Let it compound and watch your life transform in ways you cannot imagine today. Because here is the law of life. You will never change your life until you change something you do daily. Success is hidden in your routine, buried in your habits, woven into your systems. And when you build those systems of small daily action compounded over time, you will look back one day and realize that what once looked impossible has become inevitable. That is the miracle of compounding. That is the power of systems.